Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Hmm.
Today we're going to be heading up north to the Faroe Islands.
Oh, wow.
You guys have sent in some really interesting research on the Faroe Islands' goal to become totally carbon neutral.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're going to be breaking it all down, what's working, what's not, and maybe some of the innovations that are catching people's eyes all over the world.
Right.
It's a really unique situation.
It is, yeah. So just imagine it, a rugged volcanic archipelago in the middle of the North Atlantic.
Right.
So beautiful landscapes, but they're definitely isolated,
Yeah,
and they're facing like some really serious energy challenges.
exactly. And our main source for this deep dive is an interview from Nordic Energy Research,
Okay.
which, I mean, you guessed it, they're an organization focused on finding sustainable energy solutions.
That makes sense.
So what's the energy story in the Faroe Islands?
So it's pretty interesting, actually. Back in 2009, the Faroes Parliament, they set a target, and they were trying to reduce their CO2 emissions by 20%
Okay,
by 2020.
gotcha. That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, bold move, right?
Yeah.
But, and I was kind of surprised by this too, they didn't quite hit that target.
Yeah. I was surprised to learn that too. What happened?
Think of it like this. At the time, they were going through like a period of really rapid societal growth,
Okay.
almost like a boom town kind of thing,
Yeah.
And their green initiatives just they couldn't quite keep pace, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. So progress, but not quite at the speed they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, is the dream of carbon neutrality, is it over?
No, not at all. They've adjusted their course.
Oh, all right.
And now their new target is a 45% reduction in CO2 emissions by 2030 compared to 2022 levels.
Wow.
And this time, they're really focused. They're laser focused on getting it done.
A 45% reduction, that's massive.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a place that, as of 2023, still relied on oil for over 90% of its energy.
Right.
Renewables like wind and solar and hydro were under 10%.
Exactly. Yeah.
To hit that target, they'd have to slash oil consumption by what, roughly 180,000 tons per year.
Yeah, it's huge.
That sounds like a really big challenge.
Oh, it absolutely is. And it requires like this whole multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
So they're really pushing hard on expanding those renewable energy sources. So think wind farms, right?
Yeah.
Onshore and offshore, taking full advantage of those strong Atlantic winds.
Yeah.
They've also got to explore solar and even the potential for tidal power.
So harnessing the power of nature to fuel their future, I mean, it's really exciting to think about the possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about electrification?
Right.
That's a key part of the carbon neutrality puzzle.
Absolutely a key part. And they're making some good progress, like electrifying power generation, heating systems,
Right.
and even land-based transport, which is great. But there's a big challenge kind of lurking in the waters. The maritime sector, it's vital to their economy, but it accounts for a whopping half of their oil consumption.
Half. Wow. So finding sustainable solutions for like the shipping and the fishing is crucial.
It is. It is. They're kind of exploring this mix of batteries,
Okay.
which are great for the shorter distances, but then for those longer hauls and the larger vessels, they're looking at green fuels like hydrogen and ammonia.
Interesting.
Yeah, and these green fuels, these could be a real game changer, especially because they can be produced using renewable energy, creating like this closed loop system.
So instead of burning fossil fuels, their ships could be powered by energy from the wind or the sun. That's amazing. But let's talk about those industries that are kind of notorious for being, big energy guzzlers. Any progress on that front?
Yeah, definitely. One area that they're focusing on is implementing these large-scale heat pumps in industries like salmon feed and fish meal production. It's a big step toward moving away from those traditional, energy-intensive methods.
Fascinating. It makes you wonder if this could be a model for other industries around the world
Yeah.
that are trying to decarbonize. But let's dive into some of the really innovative projects that are happening in the Faroe Islands. I'm really eager to hear about those.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so they have some pretty impressive projects that they're working on.
Okay.
One that really stands out is their grid-scale battery system.
Okay.
So remember, the Faroe Islands, they're not connected to any kind of external power grid.
Right. So they're on their own when it comes to energy.
Exactly. And that makes it, a little tricky when you're dealing with renewable energy sources.
Yeah.
Like wind and solar. which can be a little intermittent.
Yeah.
The wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine.
Of course.
So, how do you keep the lights on when those sources aren't available?
Right, that's where the batteries come in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Okay.
Think of them like giant energy reservoirs.
Okay, yeah.
So when there's like excess wind or solar power, they store it all up.
Okay.
And then when demand exceeds supply, the batteries, they release that stored energy, which keeps the grid stable.
Oh, wow.
And it prevents any blackouts.
So it's like having a massive backup power system for the entire archipelago.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's brilliant. What other innovative projects are they working on?
Okay, so they've also developed this 100% electric catamaran, and it's designed specifically for the salmon farming industry.
Wow, talk about a win-win.
Yeah, right.
Reducing emissions from the maritime sector, but also taking advantage of their, growing renewable energy capacity. It's like they're turning these challenges into opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It really speaks to their commitment to finding those like practical, sustainable solutions that work for their very unique environment. But they're not just tackling this alone.
Right. I remember reading about the Net Zero Islands Network.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Oh, it's a fantastic initiative. So they're bringing together all of these islands from all over the world
Oh, wow.
who are committed to achieving carbon neutrality. Think of it like a global support group.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. For islands leading the charge on sustainability.
So they're sharing knowledge and best practices and lessons learned.
Exactly. They're learning from each other's successes and challenges,
Yeah.
which is invaluable
Yeah.
when you're like forging a path towards this carbon neutral future.
Yeah.
One thing that's particularly exciting that they're exploring through this network is the potential of floating offshore wind farms.
Floating wind farms. That sounds so futuristic. Tell me more.
Yeah, so imagine this.
Okay.
Massive wind turbines, but they're not anchored to the seabed.
Oh, wow.
They're floating out in the open ocean, harnessing the power of those, strong Atlantic winds.
Right.
And because they're not limited by like the water depth, they can be put in areas with the most consistent and powerful winds.
So it's like unlocking this whole new level of wind energy potential.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And what are they doing with all of that clean energy?
Yeah. Well, of course they're using it to power their islands,
Yeah.
but they're also exploring the possibility of using it to produce green fuels like hydrogen and ammonia. And these fuels could be like a game changer for the maritime industry.
Right.
It would allow them to decarbonize those, big shipping and fishing fleets.
So it's like they're creating a closed loop,
Yeah.
using renewable energy to power their islands, but then also to produce the fuels that they need to operate their, vital maritime sector. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I imagine there are some challenges too.
Oh, of course. Transitioning to a carbon neutral economy, that's a very complex undertaking,
Yeah.
especially for like a remote island chain like the Faroe Islands.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest hurdles they're facing?
Well, one of the major challenges is like integrating all of these renewable energy sources into their existing grid.
Right.
And remember, they don't have a connection to any external power grids.
Right.
So they have to manage everything internally.
So it's like trying to, orchestrate a symphony with all of these musicians who all have their own unique rhythms and tempos.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to make it even more challenging, the supply of, wind and solar energy can fluctuate
Right.
dramatically depending on the weather. So they need a way to make sure that there's a stable and reliable power supply even when those sources are intermittent.
That sounds incredibly complex. How are they managing that?
So they're using a combination of innovative solutions.
Okay.
We already talked about the grid-scale batteries,
Right.
which act like, giant energy storage systems.
Yeah.
But they're also implementing these like smart grids,
Yeah.
and they use advanced technology to monitor and manage energy flow in real time.
Oh, cool. So it's like having an intelligent conductor for their energy orchestra,
Exactly.
keeping all the instruments in harmony.
Exactly. And these smart grids can respond so quickly to changes in supply and demand,
Oh, wow.
ensuring this like smooth and reliable flow of energy even when the wind suddenly dies down
Wow.
or, a cloud passes over the sun.
It sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with, renewable energy technology.
They absolutely are, but it's not just about the technology. They also understand that, the social and economic factors play a big role in this transition.
Right. It's about people, not just machines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to their credit, the Faroe Islands, they're actively working to build a shared vision for a carbon neutral future that benefits everyone.
Right.
They're doing things like holding public forums, they're engaging with local communities, they're addressing concerns about the potential impacts of all of these changes.
That's so important
Yeah,
because ultimately a sustainable future requires buy-in from the entire community.
it does.
It's about creating a system that's both, environmentally sound and socially just.
Precisely. And it's really encouraging to see the Faroe Islands taking this like holistic approach.
Yeah.
They're not just focused on, cutting emissions. They're also thinking about how to create a more resilient and equitable society.
It's inspiring to see how they're weaving together, the technology, the community engagement, and this deep respect for their environment. I mean, it's a really powerful example for other islands and communities all over the world.
Absolutely. They're demonstrating that even in a remote location
Yeah.
with unique challenges, it's still totally possible to make some really significant progress towards a carbon neutral future.
It's like they're writing a new playbook for sustainable development, one that's both, innovative and deeply rooted in their community values.
And the world is watching.
Yeah.
Their efforts are gaining international recognition, and they're actively sharing, their knowledge and experience through initiatives like that Net Zero Islands Network.
It's a reminder that even small nations can have a big impact on global issues.
Indeed. And it underscores the importance of collaboration and knowledge sharing because the challenges we face are interconnected and the solutions often lie in working together.
Well said. It's been a truly enlightening deep dive into the world of sustainable energy and the remarkable efforts of the Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
I mean, their journey is a testament to, human ingenuity, resilience, and the power of a shared vision.
Yeah, it really highlights how even these small communities can be at the forefront of global change.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Faroe Islands' journey towards carbon neutrality, what are the key takeaways for you?
Hmm.
What can we learn from their experience?
For me, it's the power of setting these ambitious goals and then just relentlessly pursuing them.
Yeah.
The Faroe Islands definitely faced an uphill battle,
Yeah,
but their commitment to innovation and collaboration is just so inspiring.
it is.
They show that even in these remote locations with all these unique challenges,
Right.
real progress is possible.
It's a testament to human ingenuity, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we don't have to wait for others to act. You know,
Right.
we can all be a part of the solution no matter where we are.
And that's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
What the Faroe Islands are doing has implications far beyond their own shores.
Right.
They're kind of demonstrating what a carbon neutral future could look like and proving that it's achievable.
It's like they're a beacon of hope, showing the world that we can transition to a more sustainable way of life
Yeah,
without having to sacrifice economic growth or quality of life.
exactly. And their commitment to knowledge sharing through initiatives like the Net Zero Islands Network, that's invaluable.
It is.
They're creating this blueprint for other islands and communities to follow.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're figuring this out,
Yeah.
and we want to share what we've learned so that other people can benefit too. That kind of collaborative spirit is essential if we're going to tackle these global challenges like climate change.
I couldn't agree more. Their story is a really powerful reminder that we're all in this together, and that even small actions, when they're multiplied across communities and nations,
Yeah.
they can have a profound impact.
So as we leave the breathtaking landscapes of the Faroe Islands behind, let's carry with us the lessons that they've taught us.
For sure.
The power of ambition,
Yeah.
the importance of innovation,
Uh-huh.
and that spirit of collaboration.
Absolutely.
And let's remember that each one of us has a role to play in creating a more sustainable future.
Well said. The Faroe Islands, they're leading the way, and it's up to all of us to follow their example.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope you found it as fascinating and inspiring as we did.
I did.
Keep those curious minds engaged, and we'll catch you next time for another journey into the world of knowledge and discovery.
Sounds good.
Until then, stay curious.